Shalom, everyone. I want to first thank Rabbi Shapira for giving me this opportunity to speak to you at this special time of Shavuot. This is not going to be a message about a lot of theology or hidden secrets. I just want to speak to you heart to heart. You know, sometimes in our lives, we feel like we are in the zone. Everything's going really well. We know we're doing what we're created to do. Everything flows. We've got energy. We know we are in God's will. We are in the zone. Well, a few years ago, when I was preparing for Sukkot, Rabbi Shapira had invited several of our students to our home, and I was really excited, but I was also stressing over getting everything prepared. Well, a couple of nights before the big day, I had this amazing dream where I was bustling around in my home and I was, hurrying in our apartment, and I looked down at myself. I was clothed in the most beautiful white wedding gown. And I got the message immediately. God reminded me that what I was doing was indeed preparing for my wedding day when Messiah would marry all of Israel. And I was a part of it. I was in the zone. Well, shortly after, unexpected difficulty came. It often seems to work this way. And sometimes during these times, we slip out of the zone. How do we get back? Well, we have to return. Shuvu. A year ago, COVID-19 invaded our lives. And then came the lockdowns and restrictions on freedom. It became more difficult to do mitzvot, commandments, that were so easy to do before. No longer could we have guests for Shabbat or the holy days. There were no tourists to invite to our home. Isn't it interesting that the word Mitzrayim, which means Egypt, comes from the word tsar, which means restriction, narrow, trouble. COVID-19 put us all into a narrow, restricted place filled with troubles. Well, we moms know how difficult it is to birth a baby. The birth canal is narrow, and pushing out a baby is very painful. It's messy. Yet, metaphorically speaking, there is a way to birth this baby, I'm talking of the Geulah, and to keep our wedding gowns spotless, pure, and white in the midst of this mess. The answer, my friends, is a mitzvah, a commandment. The Torah is known as a keleh, a tool to bring the light of Mashiach to our world. In Pirkei Avot 4:2, one of our sages, Ben Azai, says, "Run to do an easy mitzvah and flee from sin, since one mitzvah leads to another mitzvah." You know, in times like this, we simply need to go from one mitzvah to another, and then to another after that. This is how we get back into the zone. And I strongly suggest that the easiest ones to do are the ones we do for our brother or sister or family. The mitzvot we do in this restricted and narrow place, with all its pain, trouble, and sorrow, are preparing you and I for the night of the bride. As I began preparing for this message, I was struck by the similarity between the word keleh and the word kala. Keleh means vessel or tool, and kala means bride. There's only one Hebrew letter that is different in each word. It's the letter Yud in keleh and the letter He in kala. The letters Yud and He spell Yah. The first two letters of the Tetragrammaton, which is the holy name of Hashem. Yud He is said to be the name of God in the upper world or heaven, and Vav-He is his name in the lower world or earth. Simply to say this, our purpose is to unify his name above with his name below. In practical, simple terms, this means that our purpose on this earth is to unify heaven with where we are on the earth through our actions, through the mitzvot. I believe this teaches us that there's a close relationship between Kele and Kala. You know, we are each a vessel, a Kele, created to be filled up with Hashem's light, his goodness, his love, his forgiveness, mercy, and kindness. We are meant to reveal him to others because he's hidden in this world. It's very interesting that the word Kele can also be divided into two words, the letter Kaf, which is a preposition meaning like, and Li, which means me. Kele means like me. God is saying to us, as his vessel, be like me. Our greatest purpose in this world, my friends, is to be like Hashem. Genesis 1:26 teaches this, that we are meant to be his shadow, to imitate him, to represent him, so that other people can see what he is like. We are to be kind like him, to be full of grace and forgiveness like him. We are to love others and bestow acts of kindness on them like he does with us. Speaking of light, divine light manifests as pure white light, but it can be split into the 7 colors of the rainbow. If he is light, and his light contains every color of the rainbow, then we should be kelim, vessels full of his light. And in a metaphorical sense, our garment as his bride would also be full of all of the colors of the rainbow. Now here, I'm not speaking of us as individuals, but as a unit, as one people, one neshama, one soul, one bride called Israel. The garment of the bride is pure white light that contains all the many colors of the rainbow. When our actions imitate our Father in heaven, when we love and do acts of loving kindness for one another, we are wearing our beautiful garment. We are reflecting the light inside us to the outside. This is how the bride prepares herself for her wedding with Messiah. Well, let's turn to the scriptures for a moment and see what our sages have to say about these garments. In Isaiah 52, verses 1 through 2, it says, "Awake, awake, put on your strength, O Zion, put on your beautiful garments. O Jerusalem, the holy city, from now on there shall no more come into you the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake yourself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose yourself from the bonds of your neck, O captive daughter of Zion." Notice that the verse begins with "put on your strength, O Zion." What is Zion? Zion. The Malbim was a Russian-born rabbi who lived in the 1800s. He says the words "put on your strength, O Zion" refers to the inner strength of the city, meaning Jerusalem, which is the glory and splendor of the temple, the priesthood, the Sanhedrin, and the kingship within it. But in Jerusalem, which is the wholeness of the city, he continues, here resides the outer garments, the clothes of glory, which are wealth, and a populous people. Here, the Malbim means that in the rest of the city beyond the Temple Mount are the people, symbolized by the outer garments. Her inner garments, her strength and beauty, are the temple, the priesthood, the Sanhedrin, and the kingship, of course, Messiah. So we see that Zion is Jerusalem, the holy city, but Zion is also the people, the inhabitants who live in the holy city, including the priesthood and the Sanhedrin. These are aspects, of course, of the government, but they are each made up of righteous people. Of course, the kingship refers to Mashiach ben David, but there is no king or kingdom without the people who serve him. Therefore, Zion is Messiah, Jerusalem, and all the righteous people who reside in the holy city. They are all in perfect achdut, unity, and together they all make up the beautiful garments of Zion. These beautiful metaphors are meant to remind us who we are called to be. Jerusalem, the temple, the priesthood, the Messiah, and the daughters and sons of Zion are one. We are the people of Zion, Jew and Gentile. We are all one bride in Hashem's eyes, and each of us adds our uniqueness to this beautiful garment. We are the many colors of the bride of Israel. Well, there's one final verse that summarizes who we are called to be. It is found in Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim 1, verses 6 through 8. And Rabbi Shapira talks about this in the COVID-19 book on page 433. A woman asked the shepherd, Messiah, where he pastures his flock. He answers, if you know not, O most beautiful among women, go your way forth by the footsteps of the flock and pasture your kids besides the shepherd's tents. If we back up to verse 6, she says to him, gaze not upon me, for I am dark because the sun has blackened me. Rashi explains the meaning of her words. She's saying, I became a worshiper of other gods, and my own vineyard, meaning my God, I did not keep. She believes she is not worthy to be with the shepherd's flock. And as Rabbi says in his book, she makes excuses and avoids the wedding. We, especially of the nations, may feel this way. We often wonder, can we really be the bride? As Rabbi writes, the Kala needs much healing. Amazingly, the shepherd tells us exactly what we are to do for our healing in verse 8. We are to follow Bikveh in the footsteps of the sheep and graze our kids by the tents of the shepherds. If we look closely at the Hebrew, we will see that Yaakov's name is in the middle of the word. This is a huge remez, a clue, teaching us we must take on a new identity and attach ourselves to Yaakov. And who are the shepherds' tents? They are the Jewish people. We are to follow the voice of Yaakov. The shepherds are our leaders, our rabbis, who teach us Torah and lead us to the right places to graze. According to Rabbi Shapira in the book, the sheep are those who practice the voice of Jacob, practice the Torah, and worship Messiah's name. This is what it means to be in the zone. Don't say, I am dark and blackened by the sun. Don't focus on where you came from. If you have joined the flock of Yaakov, you have a new identity. Instead, see yourselves in the words of Revelation 7:9. And after this I looked, And behold, a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, with palm branches in their hands. We are the Kelim, who carry in our innermost essence the light of Messiah. The gown of the Kala is indeed a beautiful garment of every color of the rainbow, people from every nation, tribe, and language, manifesting as pure white light, the light of Messiah. Come. The Spirit and the bride say, come. You are invited to come and add your unique colors to the beautiful garment of the bride of Israel, the bride of Messiah. Litraot.